Namaste, heartfelt welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this lesson, I want to share with you how to read the Navāṁśa for the matters of relationships. First, I'm going to explore to you how the Navamsha is calculated and what that tells us about the meaning of what can be read in the Navamsha. Then we're going to explore the importance of the karaka in its particular varga. So if we're going to explore the ninth varga, the ninth division, the Navamsha, for matters of relationships, the karakas, namely Jupiter and Venus, will become extremely important. Next, we are going to explore the seventh house in the Navamsha, which is our luck in relationships. And then we are going to explore the meaning of the kāma trines and what that tells us about our sexuality. The Navamsha is hidden. It is not the first thing that we see when we open a horoscope. So also what we can read in the kāma trines of the Navamsha, it tells us some very hidden matters about our sexuality. Something that we should not share. Something that we should not publicly share with everyone. Something that's very secret to ourselves and very confidential. So even me sharing this knowledge of you here in a public space, it requires a little bit of caution. So I expect your maturity on this matter, and I will try to share with you as much as I can. Lastly, we're going to explore how the Navamsha can be read to see our sexual partners in this life. The Upapada reveals to us the knowledge about marriage, whom we are going to marry. Who is this person? Who is the second person if it has to come to an end? Who is the third person? Now, the Navamsha reveals who are the people that we encounter, that we unite with, a bit more like boyfriend, girlfriend, or secret affairs, etc. That will be seen in the Navamsha chart. This is step 6 in learning how to read relationship karma. Have fun. Nava means 9 and Amsa means portion. So the Navamsha is the ninth portion. The ninth portion of what? The ninth portion of every zodiac sign. It is one of the 16 Varga chakras introduced by Parashara. Varga also means division. Many don't know that Aries is much more than just a fire sign. It is much more than just one sign. But every zodiac sign repeats itself even within Aries. In the same way, like this universe, it works in different fractals. So also, the horoscope functions like that. Have you ever seen a snowflake? A snowflake, it starts off with one branch coming out, then it splits into 3, then it splits again, and then it splits again. If you look at trees have a strong trunk in the middle, then it splits into 2 branches, into 3, then it splits again and again. We can look at the most macroscopic. We have the galaxies and the stars which are rotating around each other. And we look at the most microscopic. We have an atom with the nucleus and the electrons rotating around it. The universe likes to repeat itself. So in the same way also the horoscope likes to repeat itself. And for this technique today, we will repeat the horoscope within itself through the number 9, which means that we can divide Aries into 9, we can divide Taurus into 9, we can divide every zodiac sign into 9 portions. One zodiac sign has 30 degrees. 30 degrees divided by 9 give 3 degrees and 20 minutes. So therefore the first 3 degrees and 20 minutes of Aries, they start with Aries itself. While the second portion of this, 3 degrees 20 minutes Aries until 6 degrees 40 minutes, starts with the next zodiac sign in order, which is Taurus. Then Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. So in the Navamsha, Aries is divided into 9 signs from Aries to Sagittarius. And if a planet is placed within 5 degrees Aries, In the Navamsha, he'll be situated in Taurus. If a planet is placed at 28 degrees of Aries, in the Navamsha, he'll be situated in Sagittarius. It is important to note that all fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, have their first portion in Aries. All earth signs, namely Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, begin with Capricorn. Aries is the fire kendra in the Kala Purusha. It is the Dharma kendra in the Kala Purusha. It is among the Dharma trines, it is the kendra. So also Capricorn in the Kala Purusha, which is the natural 10,000 of the zodiac, it is the Artha, the earth element, kendra among the Artha trines. So therefore, all the earth signs begin with Capricorn. Then we go Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. All air signs, namely Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, begin with Libra, because Libra is the kāma kendra. Therefore, the first 3 degrees and 20 minutes of Gemini will begin with Libra, then Scorpio, then Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and then Gemini. And last, we have the moksha signs. We have Cancer. We have Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And they all begin with Cancer, because Cancer is the first moksha kendra in the Kala Purusha. Back in the days, we would have to calculate the Navamsha manually. These days, an astrological software will calculate our Navamsha at the blink of an eye. So whether you're using Deva.Guru or J-Hora or Yotistar or whichever software you're using, it will have an option to display the Navamsha. It is good to memorize our Navamsha in the same way like we know our Rashi by heart. It is good to know our Navamsha because among all the divisional charts, it is the most important. It is one of the most important. The only divisional chart that could be even more important than the Navamsha is the Shashtiamsha, which is the 60th division. The Shashtiamsha in particular, it tells us about our previous life and all the punya and all the papa that we're carrying on from our exact last birth or exact previous life. And the Navamsha being the 9th division, it tells us particularly about our fortune. So any placement that is in the Navamsha can greatly alter our fortune in this lifetime. Our rising Navamsha changes every 15 minutes on average, while our Rashi chakra only changes every 2 hours. So many people were born in that 2-hour window we were born, but only a few people would have also been born with the same Navamsha. It is so particular. The Shashtiamsha, the 60th division, it changes every 2 minutes. Therefore, even 1 minute difference in birth time, it can change destiny. It is important to understand how the Vargas are calculated, because when we understand the calculation, we can infer the deeper meaning. The Navamsha is calculated by 9. The number 9 is connected to the 9th house. Therefore, the Navamsha we can look at to evaluate fortune, to evaluate dharma. And of course, marriage, it has such an impact on our dharma and on our fortune. The number 9, we can further divide it by 3, and therefore the Navamsha, it has a special connection to the Drikana as well. It is the Drikana of our Drikana. It is the 3rd division of the 3rd division. And therefore it is divided by the 3 gunas. And the 3 sages, Narada Muni, Agastya, and Durvasa, they rule this Navamsha. And it therefore is also connected to the 3 temperors. Deva, which is saintly, Manusya, human, and Rakshasas, those who are a little bit more fierce. We covered this in a different class. Now, let's dive deep into the significations of the Navamsha related to marriage. When analyzing the Navamsha in matters of marriage and love, We first want to look at the karakas, namely Jupiter and Venus. For men, we will look at Venus, and for a woman, we will look at Jupiter. However, both will play a big importance. Just remember, Venus is a wife for a man, Jupiter is the husband for a woman, yet Venus is the indicator for love for both and the indicator for marriage for both. We want Venus and Jupiter well placed in the Navamsha, which means ideally they should be either in trine or in kendra. Placements in Upachaya or in the second house are okay. However, Venus in the second house can make a person exceedingly lusty, particularly if conjoined Mars. That could break the relationship because of infidelity. And we definitely do not want these planets to be placed in Dushtana. If these planets are placed in Dushtana, we'd like them to be conjoined or aspected by benefics, because benefics always help. And if they are in Kendra or Kona, we do not like them to be conjoined malefics or aspected by malefics. What will be the worst possible combination? Let's say we have the horoscope of a man and Venus is placed in the 6th house in the Navamsha. And not only in the 6th house, she's debilitated in the 6th house, and then she's aspected by Mars and Saturn. That would be pretty horrific. If you're the person with Venus in the 6th, aspected by Mars and Saturn, please write your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Venus is Marna Karakasthana in the 6th, she really doesn't like it. That is true in all the divisional charts. If she is in a Dushtana, it means that there's a lack of luck in relationships. There's a lack of luck with our partner. If Mars and Saturn aspect, there's this feeling of compression, restriction, frustration. Things are not moving at our pace. So we like these karakas to be well placed, endowed with strength in their own sign or exalted. That is all very favorable. Particularly these placements will tell us how much luck we have in marriage, in relationship. If Jupiter is Marna Karakasthana in the 3rd, aspected by all malefics, there's a certain difficulty for the relationship. We can confirm the story with the Dara Karaka or with Venus, the 7th Lord. Maybe it's the health of the partner that is the problem. Maybe it is the life path that is not lining up. But what exactly will create the trouble, we can confirm at other places in the horoscope. But this will particularly tell us how much fortune is there for this realm of life. And if the Venus and Jupiter are weak in the Navamsha, we like to strengthen them, to help this marriage, to fan that karma a little bit, to avoid the fall. If Venus is well placed in the Navamsha, while Jupiter is not well placed, it means that love, it was a fantastic experience. But then once the relationship got very serious, it became a burden. The same is true if Venus was not so well placed, but Jupiter is strong. It was hard in the beginning. It was hard to settle together. But then once the relationship matured, you were fine. Next, we shall look at the Kendras in the Navamsha. Particularly the 7th house. Well, the 7th house in our Rashi Chakra, in our standard horoscope, shows us our partner. The 7th house in the Navamsha tells us our luck in partnership. Just combine the significations of the 9th house with the 7th house, our fortune in relationships. So if there is benefic planets in the 7th house in Navamsha, we have good luck in relationships. We don't have to go out of our way. Partners, they just approach us. In the same way, if there's benefics in the 10th house in Navamsha, if you have luck in our career, if there's Jupiter Moon in the 10th in the Navamsha, people just ask you to work for them, right? You might have never applied for a job in your life. People just offer you jobs. So also if there's Jupiter Moon in the 7th house, people just ask you for dates. Wonderful. So much luck is there. Particularly the Shah, the Vimshotri Dasha, the Anta Dasha, Pratyanta Dasha of these planets, beautiful. They give beautiful results for luck in relationships. If there is malefics in the 7th house in Navamsha, the opposite is true. Malefics in the 7th house in Navamsha is some bad luck. They block it. The door is blocked. It's hard for people to come in. If Saturn is there, we might have to wait a little bit. No luck early in life. If Mars is there, Mars is Marna Karakasthana in the 7th house. Whew. Also, not so lucky. It's a bit difficult. Mars in the 7th and the Navamsha. I'll tell you, it's another signification of the 7th and the nth. I will mention more about Mars there. For now, we just want to analyze the luck. Benefics just indicate more luck. Malefics, a little less. Multiple malefics. Not so much luck at all. Also, the 7th Lord is very important. We want the 7th Lord and Navamsha to be endowed with strength. We want him to be in Kendra or Kona. Wherever he is placed, it can indicate as well where we have luck in relationships. If the 7th Lord in the Navamsha is placed in the 3rd house, that could mean that there's some luck in relationships that we're going to experience by following our hands, following our arms, following our hobbies and creative pursuits. It can give us our partner. If it is Jupiter in the 3rd, despite the fact that he's Marnakarakasthana, which will mean there's some uncomfortable feelings associated with the marriage, despite that fact, we might study, we read, we learn a new language, we teach, and then we meet our partner. The luck came to us. I saw one person just recently. And this was so true. Jupiter in the 3rd. Gemini ascendant in the Navamsha. So planets in the 9th house and the position of the Lord, they're really important to tell us how much luck is there. And where will we meet that luck? What will bring us that luck in our relationships? And then next, we can look at the kāma trines in the Navamsha, the 3rd, 7th, and 11th house. It is a little bit of a secret topic, and a lot of this should only be shared to somebody that we know, because it is very powerful information. So let me give you some food for thought. The 7th house in the Navamsha will also tell us about the intensity of our sexual desire. If there are planets in the 7th house, we can look at the speed of the planet and we can see how desirous a person is. So if there is the moon in the 7th house in the Navamsha, a person will be very desirous, like the moon. How long does the moon spend in one zodiac sign? About 2.5 days. So in the same way also, if the moon is in the 7th house in Navamsha, it takes about 2.5 days. If there's Saturn in the 7th house in Navamsha, how long does Saturn take to travel through one zodiac sign? He takes about 2.5 years. So also, if Saturn is in the 7th house in the Navamsha, a person is not so desirous usually. It's 7th house Saturn in the Navamsha. It's the time comes, everything is set up. You put some nice aromatic oils in the bathtub. You had a bath with your spouse. Then you come together. You rub each other's backs. You put on some nice candle and incense. And then, you massage the back of your partner. And then he says, "Oh, honey, maybe tomorrow." That's Saturn in the 7th house in the Navamsha. It's important to notice if we're doing synastry and compatibility. It's important to notice. It can create problems. And then the other planets, they're in between. In the speed, first we have Moon, then Mercury, then Venus, then the Sun, then Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. Rahu, he can give quite a lot. He gives too much. Ketu, he will give a certain detachment. So the planets in the 7th house, they can tell us about this. And you can look at the sign as well that we can see from the 7th house. And the 3rd and the 11th house, they tell us about our sexual preferences. So the 11th house, we can see What attracts us in another person? The 11th house will really reveal to us which qualities arouse us. So if we have this information about another person, then it is like, it can become dangerous as well. It's like the secret weapon. How to allure this person, how to take them away. So that's important to know. In the 11th house Navamsha, if there's Jupiter, then we like teachers, people who share, who speak good philosophy. Whenever a person gives a very nice class, then we think, wow, this person, that should be my partner. If there's Mars, we like, if a woman has Mars in the 11th house in Navamsha, she likes men who are strong, a little bit fiery and feisty, who are like proactive, who have muscles, etc. If there's Rahu in the Sun, maybe we like partner who are a little bit narcissistic. With Saturn and Ketu, we like people who are haunted. In this way, we can look at the 11th house and the planets placed there, and is that which attracts us in another person. So look at your partner, make sure you got the right Navamsha. The Navamsha changes every 10 minutes, so sometimes the birth time can be inaccurate. Maybe you have to take one early or one later. Make sure that you have your correct birth time. But look at the 11th house, look at the planets there, look at the sign, look at who is aspecting. That will reveal how to attract the other person. So, in a similar way, the 3rd house also has a connection to sexuality. It can tell us about, some intimate topics. If there is Mercury or Saturn in those karma trines, these are the neutral planets. So, in karma trines, particularly if they're very strong, if they're conjoined or in an exchange, they can indicate bisexuality or homosexuality, particularly if there is an association between the 4th and 8th house in the Rashi chakra. Because it is that connection between the 4th and the 8th. The 4th is our heart. The 8th house, it is a tricky house, the 8th house. It can change things. So if there's a connection between the 4th and the 8th in a Rashi chart, and then there's Mercury and Saturn and a parivartana in the Navamsha, then we have a person who will be gay. This is cancelled if Jupiter is in the kāma trines. If Jupiter is in the kāma trines, this is the most beautiful combination. Especially if Jupiter is strong, a person will save themselves before marriage. Because how is their kāma? How is their enjoyment? It is very righteous. It is very novel. Jupiter and kāma trines is a beautiful combination. It does not apply as much anymore as it did many years ago because of the shift in social values, but still it will give good results. It depends on cultural context. If you have an Indian person or from any traditional culture, which is a little bit more sane, then Jupiter is in kāma trines, most likely this person will save themselves for marriage. Jupiter is beautiful, beautiful combination. If there is benefics and kāma trines, they give beautiful experiences in the realm of kāma, enjoyment, intimacy. Like Navamsha, it's a bit more hidden. It's a bit more secret. If there is malefics, they can give more intensity. Particularly if there's multiple malefics and kāma trines, they can indicate problems. If there's more than 2 malefics and kāma trines, it is dangerous. That can indicate adverse sexual experiences. So if there's multiple malefics and kāma trines, more than 2, maybe consult an astrologer, do a remedial measure, particularly if you're young. Particularly if Venus is also afflicted, or Mercury, because Mercury is childhood, Venus is puberty until our early 30s. We can see so much in the kāma trines. We can look at the planets throughout the Navamsha. If there's no planets in the kāma trines, maybe karma is not that important to you in this life. Fantastic. I saw this person, he had 5 planets and karma trines in the Navamsha. He was trying to be a monk. He was a monk for 1 year. He was telling me how much he was struggling. So all of this becomes very important. Now, let me tell you one last thing about the Navamsha. The 7th house of the Navamsha can also be read as the ascendant of our first partner. In traditional cultures, there is not much difference between our first partner and our husband or wife. However, in our modern culture, there is often a difference. So here we can differentiate. We can read all different marriages from the Upapada Lagna, while we can look at the 7th house in the Navamsha to see our first boyfriend or girlfriend. From there, we can move to the 8th house from the 7th, which is the 2nd house in the Navamsha, which would show our next boyfriend or girlfriend. From there, we can move to the 8th. The 8th from the 2nd is the 9th, to see the next partner. Then we can move to the 4th, which is the next, to the 11th, to the 6th, to the ascendant, to the 8th, to the 3rd, to the 10th, to the 5th, to the 12th, and then back, back to the 7th house. If we finish all 12, then we can go to the Karaka, so then next we can go to the Sun, etc., etc. I hope it is not more than 12. We rarely have to count that much. It's going to be a very long reading if you would have to. But this is what we can see here. So we can turn the horoscope around and we can look at the 7th house in the Navamsha as the ascendant. And therefore planets placed in the 7th house not only show our luck in the relationship, they not only show the intensity of our desire for union, but they also show the first person. So of course there's a connection between our luck and the first person that we're going to meet. If there's malefics, they indicate bad luck. And who is that first person we're going to meet? He's a malefic person, he's a harsh person. So that is seen from the 7th house in the Navamsha. Which means that the 4th house in the Navamsha, meaning the 10th from the 7th, it can show us the career of our first partner. And the 3rd house in our Navamsha, which is the 9th from the 7th, can show the worldview of our first partner. In this way, we can look at all the houses upside down. Then we could apply the same to the 2nd house, etc. So this is how we can read, how we can differentiate boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, or maybe affairs which never become a marriage. We can look at the affair and we can see it in the Navamsha. Particularly the 2nd house of the Navamsha, the 2nd house from the ascendant, becomes really important because the 2nd house is the death of your luck in marriage. It is that which ends your luck. It's also that which ends your first relationship. And the 2nd house from the ascendant, from the Navamsha, is also that which feeds your ascendant. Because your food, what you take in, what nourishes you. So if there is Venus, it means that it's passion. In particular, if it's Venus and Mars. Venus and Mars can make a person a little bit unchaste in this connection. If it is just Venus, it is manageable. If it's Venus and Mars, it will become difficult. If it is Ketu, a person will be very virtuous in this matter. Because Ketu is there, right? That is very beautiful. That's a very wonderful combination to have Ketu here. When we choose a Muhurta, when we choose a marriage Muhurta, it's nice, we can put Ketu there. Ketu is in the 2nd house of the Navamsha during the marriage Muhurta, that will help. So in this way, we can always work with it if there is some challenges. We can make the right choices now, we can alter our destiny, we can alter our karma. I hope this was helpful. Did you know that you can see your boyfriend and girlfriend in the Navamsha? In our next lesson, we are going to explore Argala and Viroda and that influence on relationships. Before we're going to explore timing in our last session of this mini series. All the topics explored, you could dive into them for hours. I have many examples I would like to share with you. But it's a little bite. So if you enjoyed this video, if you'd like to learn more, if it sparked your curiosity, please let me know in the comments below. Which planets do you have in the 7th house of your Navamsha? Can you relate to what I've just mentioned? Which planets do you have in the 11th of the Navamsha? Have you seen the pattern? Thank you so much. Namaskar. All glories to you for watching.